Give it a few seconds. This time I did the notes very generic.
God
Just,
damn, that girl's busty. I mean, what?
just
What happened?
episode name, the Wikipedia synopsis, characters introduced, and that's it.
All right, whenever you're ready, bud. God damn. I was trying to stare in her eyes, but I got distracted.
I,
Jesus Christ.
I have a better
For a,
opening
for
this
a
time.
sick woman, holy fuck.
Gotta go, gotta go. Uh oh.
He's been torturing me with the rap song
If
of One
you
Piece.
if you haven't heard the original Four Kids rap song, you're welcome.
It's a spell. A mental that did mental damage, extreme mental damage. I am not
anyways,
immune.
anyways, I'm Derp Derp.
I am Ski Nerd.
We're here to review the episodes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of One Piece.
On the Dritz Dresden channel.
And gotta go for One Piece.
Spaghetti. Not sponsored by SpaghettiOs, but it's fun to say spaghetti.
By the way, go watch the rap song if you've never heard it.
That was a deep breath.
But
Namaste. Okay. I feel a little better. Episode 6.
it's titled Desperate Situation Beast Tamer Emoji versus Luffy.
Cool. Alright. Well, we last left off with a buggy bomb being redirected at Buggy's crew. And, yeah, so Luffy's in a cage, and Zoro got stabbed by Buggy in an unfair way. And Nami witnesses Zoro trying to drag Luffy to the ship, I presume, or to find a key, I guess, or something to break the cage. And he's injured and still holding this cage thing above his head, and she's like, "What are you doing? What? Just you're pirates. Why would you help your comrade? That doesn't make any sense." Um, and then we are introduced to a guy named Moji, the lion tamer.
Ready, you
And
go
he's
with the line.
talking to Buggy, and he's like, "Buggy, I want to get revenge for you. Let me fight." And Buggy's like, "Okay, yeah, I'll go fight him. Kick his ass. Kick that Zoro's ass." And because he wants Zoro's head, because he was being an asshole. He kind of killed a bunch of his crew, Makes sense.
No, you just love tap them if you're looking at the One Piece, the Four Kids.
Yeah, so he drags, Zoro drags the cage to in front of a pet supply shop, and Zoro faints, and a dog appears, and starts like kind of barking at them, and Luffy doesn't really know what's happening. He's like, "Oh, look, a doggy." And he goes to Luffy, of course, goes to pet the dog, and he gets bit right away because this dog means business. This is a badass dog, and Nami kind of feels bad. She's like, "Well, you did help me out back there, so here's the key." And the dog eats the key to spite Luffy. This is a fun dog. We learn later this dog name is Chow Chow, and it sounds like a 3-year-old. Um,
Name them.
no, a 3-year-old who did the sound of the barking dog. It's very poor, in my opinion. It is very, very, very poor. However, it's it works for what it is. I don't know why, but it just does. But it's very poor voice acting. Anyways, after the dog eats the key, a person comes and he's like, "Hello, I am the mayor. I am here to protect my town. Who are you guys?" And Luffy's like, "Oh, we're pirates." He's like, "What? You've come to attack my town? How dare you?" And Nami's there, and she's just like, "Don't tell him we're pirates. If he tells them we're pirates, we're screwed." He's just like, "Yeah, we're pirates." Oh, Luffy. So Chow Chow is guarding his pet food shop, and we learn from the mayor that the shop owner died. Oh, by the way, the mayor is just like, "Oh, you guys defeated Buggy, so I guess you guys are good." And the cage uh, opens after Richie, who's the lion of the lion tamer, attacks him, looking because he's the lion tamer is looking for Zoro, and he's like, "Hey, where's Zoro?" And he's like, "I don't know." He's like, "Oh, I think you know where he is." "Well, I'm not gonna tell you." He's like, "Do you want to die?" "Well, I don't know." Just being super aloof about it. So Richie goes to bite the cage, and he throws the cage, presumably killing Luffy. He's like, "Oh, I guess he's not here. I guess we'll look elsewhere." Blah blah blah. And then in the next scene, Nami and the mayor are surprised that Luffy survived. They're like, "Wait, you survived that?" He's like, "Yeah. Why? Was that supposed to kill me or something?" They're like, "Yeah, it was." "Oh, all right. Well, whatever." And Luffy tells them his purpose. He's like, "I'm gonna go to the Grand Line, and I'm gonna get a navigator. Haha, gonna be king of the pirates." Anyways, um, we get flashbacks of the dog protecting the shop. It's flashbacks of it over years and years, just hanging out with his master and stuff like that. Very emotional. Um, so the shop is basically the dog's treasure, and it needs to guard it to keep the memory of its owner safe and protected. Um, let's see. And then we get to see a Gummo Gummo hammer, and he attacks he attacks Richie. Richie kind of belly flops and can't really do much. Hi. And at this, let's see. Oh, I skipped a line accidentally. All right, here we go. So the Luffy and the Lion Tamer kind of go at it one on one, and he's like, "Oh, Richie, you need to get back up. We need to defeat this guy." He's like, "Oh," go back and forth, trying to fight, and let's see. Nami was mad at the pirates, and Luffy was fighting for the dog's sake, not for his own sake, but because the dog was protecting this place. Luffy respected that, and anytime Luffy respects somebody, he fights for them, basically. Um, and there was a point where Rishi was in a fight with the Chow Chow, the dog, and this dog is trying its best to protect its treasure, and we get a flashback of the dog being a puppy and helping his master at the pet food store, and they're opening some pet food and traveling along, and the dog is trying to help move this what they call it, like a cart. Um, it was like stuck in some sand, and the master's like, "Oh, you don't have to do that. I don't want to get hurt, haha." And they're just like, and there's a scene of the dog getting into the dog food, and the master goes, "No, you're not supposed to eat the dog food. You're supposed to eat this." And he brings out meat, like real food and shit, and it's super emotional. And then he's like, "Oh, I'm sick. I got to go to the doctor. So you got to protect this place for me." And so the master 3 months ago like never came back, and he's been protecting it ever since. Can you X out of that alien thing? I know it's cool, but it's super distracting.
I wasn't looking at that.
I figured you weren't, but I was just like, oh look, alien.
I'm actually looking at One Piece related things.
And then the lion tamer goes back to Buggy. He's just like, oh my god, I was defeated. And he's like, oh, it's this guy in a straw hat. He's like, what? You were defeated. You were defeated by like a by this Zoro guy? He's like, no, I was defeated by the straw hat person. What? How could you lose? And as he's talking, the lion tamer faints. And so hold on, where did I write that down? Oh right, Zoro was in the pet shop sleeping, and there was a buggy ball that was shot at the town. The buggy's just like, okay, you fail. I'm gonna shoot a buggy ball at this town, and everybody was concerned that Zoro was in this house that collapsed, but he was fine. He wasn't harmed at all. He's just like, oh, why do you have to wake me up from that nap? Anyways, and then the mayor comes back and he's just like, hey, me and these other people, we built this town 40 years ago and we kept it going strong, and we really want to look out for our town and stuff like that. And then Nami's like, I don't want to join your crew as a navigator, but I will temporarily team up against Buggy with you. And that's when a fight begins. Ooh, because Buggy comes. And he's all menacing and terrifying. So that's the end of episode 6. Episode 7 just goes right into it.
Titled Epic Showdown Swordsman Zoro versus Acrobat Kabaji.
Alright. So this acrobat guy, he's just like, you Tamer? Tamer, you suck. Can't believe you lost to a bunch of misfits. One of them being Zoro, and he's injured. How could you lose to him? God, you're an idiot. So, at the beginning of the episode, we see that the mayor and everyone else, they go off to square off with Buggy, and the mayor runs off ahead of him, and he calls on him. He's like, hey, you, I'm gonna fight you. You can't terrorize my town anymore. And it's like this 60-year-old mayor dude, and the rest of the crew comes up, and Luffy's like, oh, hi, and he knocks out the mayor, so the mayor doesn't have to fight. And can you mix that one up, dude? God, it's moving. It's really a distraction. And now it goes away, of course. So Luffy immediately calls Buggy Big Nose to piss him off. Hey, Big Nose, blah blah blah. And he's like, oh, you can't say that to me. I'm gonna fire a buggy ball at you. And he's like, all right, go for it. And he fires the buggy ball, and everybody else starts running away. And he goes, come on, balloon! He turns into a giant balloon and bounces the buggy ball back at Buggy, and it explodes gloriously. And that's when Kabaji, we learn that he uses Richie as a shield from the bomb, and Buggy uses 2 goons to shield him from his bomb, and they're still alive. So voila, that's what Buggy is. He's a pretty great guy. So Kabaji is an acrobat, and he's fighting on a unicycle with swords, and he goes up to fight Luffy, but then Zoro pushes Luffy out of the way and said, no, this guy has swords. I need to fight him, and I'm going to win. So then we get a cool fight between Zoro and this acrobat guy, Kabaji, and let's see, fire and kick to injury. Oh, right. Kabaji blasted fire from his mouth. He's like, you know, that was pretty cool, into Zoro's face, and then he kicked him with his leg, of course, into Zoro's injury because he noticed Zoro's injury from early. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna kick that, and I'm gonna win easily, no problem." Um, Zoro's, and then Zoro is unfazed by the Kubaji's insults. Kubaji's like, "You can't fight with that injury. You might as well just give up." And he's just like, "What are you talking about? This You mean this minor thing? This doesn't affect me at all." And it's kind of cool that they're going back and forth, trying to insult each other, which is a big part of battle. Like if you watch Dragon Ball Z, Vegeta is very good at that. Um, just trying to get into your opponent's head to demoralize them it can be very effective because when you're in a battle or in any kind of sport or athleticism stuff, you want to keep a strong mental mind and you want to stay focused. But if you lose your focus, you can lose your strength and you can lose your agility. You can lose. It really distracts you from focusing on the fight or focusing on your task at hand. And they really go back and forth. And this Kubaji is trying to intimidate Zoro, and Zoro's like, "No, I'm not intimidated by you." And he makes Kubaji sweat a little bit, and that's kind of cool to see how Kubaji isn't as mentally strong as Zoro is, even though Zoro has a quote unquote minor injury that he has. Holy crap! Um, yep, Kubaji sweats. Write it down. Um, and then Nami leaves. She says, "Luffy, yeah, I don't. This isn't my fight anymore. I'm gonna go. All right, bye." And then Kubaji throws tops at Zoro, which is a very interesting attack. Does a little bit, but Zoro has to like slice them all. He throws like 100 tops at him or something like that. And then Bucky cheats again. I forget exactly how he cheats, but I think it has to do with it's either distracting Zoro or what was it? I think it's like throwing knives at different things. Anyways, yeah, I guess you're gonna have to rewatch and do it because I watched this episode yesterday, so I'm a little question marky. Did you have anything
No.
on that part? Okay. Um, Buggy cheats. All right. Oh, I think I know what it was. He was trying to. Oh, right. Druggy had one of his chopped hands, and he was holding Zoro up by the throat and holding him up. That's how he was cheating. And Luffy thwarted that cheating by, I believe this is where he kicks him in the nuts. No. Well, Luffy stops it. I think this is where he kicks him in the balls. Um, Either that or he stomps on a foot or something like that, and stops it. Anyways, so Nami goes to look for the treasure of Buggy, which is cool, and she does find a chest. And oh right, she uses her chest sexually to distract the guard and kind of knock him out with her three-pronged stick thing. And she does that. She grabs a key that's around his neck, and now she can open the chest. And what's inside? A map of the Grand Line. Hooray! She found her treasure. And so she grabs the other treasure, puts it in bags, and she brings it back into the fighting area, or by Luffy, or whatever. Anyways, um, during this, Kubaji gets defeated. Zoro takes does one final attack against Kubachi, and he's just like, "Yeah, this is nothing. Like I'm gonna defeat you right here, right now." And he just straight on bull rushes Kubachi and just cuts him with this three sword attack. And like, holy crap, having an injury like that, like, can really distract you, especially if you have to carry heavy swords. Um, a lot of endurance training, a lot of training required to do that, which is fun. Who doesn't like training? Oh, which is fun. Who doesn't like training? Okay. Ooh, I'm still in frame. Excellent. Alright, so immediately after he gets defeated, Zoro falls asleep, which is great. And Buggy then comments on that straw hat. He's like, "Oh, I know who wore that straw hat. That stupid Shanks." And then Luffy's like, "You know who Shanks is? Oh, wow, cool." And he reveals they used to be comrades, and he starts insulting Shanks. And Luffy's like, "Hey, you can't say that about Shanks. He's a great pirate." He's like, "No, I was with him long ago, and I can say whatever I want about him. He's a fucking douchebag, dick nozzle kind of thing." And let's see, and then Buggy and Luffy start fighting. It's like, all right, the real fight is on. Let's do this thing. We learn that Luffy is weak to blades, um, and at this time, Buggy starts in one of the attacks. Buggy slashes a part of Luffy's hat, and Luffy gets really angry. Like, hey, you can't damage this hat. This is my treasure. This means a lot to me. Um, and he's like, oh, really? This means a lot to you, huh? And he takes his hat and he drives 3 blades to the top of it. And Luffy is super mad at this. And Buggy's actually using this to his advantage of pissing Luffy off so he'll make mistakes. And he makes some mistakes. He gets pummeled a little bit. But they keep talking. And then we have a hat flashback of how the hat was passed on to Luffy, how Luffy treasures it. This is how we remember Shanks, and it was his promise to become a great pirate and go to the Grand Line and obtain the One Piece kind of thing. Um, um, and then Buggy and Shanks are comrades in the past, and that's where the episode ends. So that was episode 7.
Episode 8 is the who is the victor? Devil Fruit Power Showdown.
Ooh. Level 8. Sorry. Episode 8. Let's get it. All right. Let's bring it on. All right. So this starts off in the past with a young Buggy and a young Shanks, and they were pirates in training. And it starts off with them on the ship, and they're like, "Oh, look, a ship appeared!" They're talking about Buggy's talking about treasures and gold and jewels and pearls or whatever. And Shanks has a different philosophy on treasure. He's just like, "Oh, I suppose, yeah, that's one kind of treasure." And he's just like, "Haha, you don't have what it takes to be a great pirate like me. You're kind of soft-hearted person, and you won't be able to make it." Blah blah blah. And so they raid a pirate ship and they get some treasure. And during the raiding, Buggy finds a map of the Grand Line. He's like, "Oh, look, a map of the Grand Line. This is cool." And so he hides it. Um, and after they talk more, and they talk about going in different directions, and how Buggy's like, "Oh yeah, I suppose you could be part of my crew," and Shanks is like, "No, I don't think I'll be part of your crew. I got to be my own captain, have my own dreams." That's what pirates do. Very different philosophies. Let's see. And then it cuts to them being in like the bar area or whatever, and people are kind of making fun of Buggy, and they're like, "Oh," they're talking about the devil fruit and how they found a devil fruit, and they're like, "Wow, that could be worth like 100 million berries." And so Buggy comes up with the plan. He's just like, "Haha, I'm gonna eat that devil fruit." So he stands up in front of everyone and eats a fruit, an orange fruit, and he eats it. He's like, "Haha, I have devil powers now." And they're like, "How do you feel?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know." And then in the next scene, he's on a boat with his map and the real devil fruit that he plans to sell. and he plans to sell to get money to get a crew to go to the Grand Line to get more treasure and stuff like that. However, because he's being kind of destined about it, Shanks comes up. He's like, "Oh, hey, how's it going, Bugsy?" Or sorry, Buggy. And so he hides the fruit in his mouth. He's like, "Oh, if you shouldn't take too much fruit from the kitchen. You don't want to get caught." And so then he goes away, and he's like, "Oh, I wasn't." Buggy is like, doesn't say it, but he expresses that he wasn't caught. And then Shanks comes back again because he forgot to say something. He's like, "Oh, hey, I forgot to tell you this one thing, blah, blah, blah." And that's when Buggy swallows his fruit. And he gets the powers. And he gets mad at Shanks because at this time I believe he drops the map into the water or something like that because he's scared by him, and he goes in. He dives into the water, and because he had devil fruit, now he can't swim. And they kind of talk about that before. Then they talk about it in other episodes. But one of the side effects is you cannot swim if you have one of the devil fruits. And so he starts drowning, and as he's like telling the story to Luffy, and she's like, Shanks then dives in. He's like, "Oh, so Shanks saved you?" He's like, "No, he didn't. He ruined my life. He cost me 10 years. It took me 10 years to get the money I needed to get an actual crew, all because he blames Shanks for swallowing the fruit." Anyways, oh, it was a feather before, not the balls. Anyways, so they start fighting again. Oh, and Buggy's goal was because he couldn't swim, his goal was to get all the treasure on the land. Anyways, Buggy starts to attack Nami because he notices, hey, whoever attacks my treasure, whoever touches my treasure, I will attack you and destroy you. And he starts going after Nami, and this is where Luffy kicks his lower half in the balls. He's like, "Hey, you're fighting me. Like, don't go to her. Look at me. You're fighting me. Stop it." Yeah, hitting the balls. It's pretty fun. And then townspeople come into town, and they're discussing. They're like, "Hey, the mayor hasn't come back. We should go find him." So the entire town, who had to flee from the area where Buggy is, starts looking for him. Cuts back to Luffy starting to tickle Buggy on the bottom of his feet to get him to stop attacking Nami as well, which is pretty funny. He can't stop laughing. Pretty great. And then Luffy saves Nami. I think she was about to be stabbed or something like that, because she had his treasure, and he was very upset about this. And Nami runs off again. She's like, "Oh, I gotta do something." She runs off again, and I think it was the Chop Chop power. He basically separated all of his arms and limbs, and they were diced, basically, and he could use that to attack different things and make him look like he's invincible. But so Luffy saves Nami, and then Buggy's like, "All right, everything come back," and then it's just a head, 2 hands, and 2 feet only. So he's really short, and he's like, "Why am I so tiny?" And it goes to Nami, and Nami had tied up all the other limbs, so they couldn't move, which is pretty funny. Let's see. And this is where Luffy uses his Gomu Gomu Bazooka and attacks the remaining tiny Buggy, and he just flies off in the air, or we don't know where he is. So that wins the day. Nami agrees. She says, "Well, you saved my life, so I promise I'll fix your straw hat." And Luffy goes, "Oh, amazing! This is also mean you're gonna be our navigator? Oh, cool!" And she also gives Luffy a map of the Grand Line. Like, here you go. Like, you're gonna need this. She's like, "Oh, right. Now I finally have a map of the Grand Line. I've never had one before." Uh, and this is where the town arrives, and they're like, "Hey, are you guys pirates? Are you guys the one that's been attacking us?" And then Nami again is just like, "We can't let them know that we're pirates, otherwise they're gonna attack us." And Luffy goes, "Yeah, we're pirates." And she's like, "Oh my god, why did you say this?" And the mob starts chasing them, and as they're running away, Luffy's getting scolded by Nami, like, "Why did you say stuff? They're gonna attack us." And he's like, "Oh well, they're gonna attack us no matter what we said. So I just told them the truth, and it's good that they're standing up for their mayor. That means this is a good town, which is nice." And they're running, and the dog steps up to them and starts barking at the townspeople so they can get away. And they go to the port, and they find the ship that they were using, and 3 pirates popped out, and Luffy is carrying Zoro, and Nami is carrying the treasure. These 3 pirates that we saw earlier, they're like, "Oh, hey, you guys stole our boat. We gotta teach you a lesson now. It's not good to steal." And Luffy's like, "Huh? Who are you?" He's like, "Oh, I guess you're with her. Okay, we're gonna teach you a lesson too." And Zoro wakes up for like a second. He's like, "Huh? Oh!" And they all recognize Zoro. They're like super scared of him. It's funny. Let's see. And Zoro. So Mayor wakes up and he's like, "Oh, where were those kids?" And the town was like, "Oh, don't worry, we scared off those pirates." Or like he was just like, "Oh, crap, I gotta go find them. I'm the only one that's allowed to yell at them, not you guys." Blah blah blah. So he, as they're excuse me. Um, so the mayor awakens and he starts running to the port, and he's like, "Hey, thank you," and he starts thanking them, and as they're floating away in their ships, which is really cool. So that's the end of episode 8. Episode 9. Oh man, my medicine's kicking in. Oh, I'm starting to fall asleep.
It's called the Honorable Liar, Captain Usopp.
This is where we get to find
Get introduced to Usopp.
Usopp. All right. This is a very good story. Here's Captain Usopp. So right. Starts with an Usopp alarm. He starts running through town, being like, "Pirates, pirates, pirates are coming!" And alas, there are no pirates.
I think
It was a lie.
I think I would like Usopp more if he wasn't voiced by Sonny Strait, because the voice is a little annoying for Usopp. It's not so annoying for Krillin, because it's the guy that voices Krillin. But Usopp, it just really gets on my nerves for the English voice.
Oh, I'm not watching the English voice. I'm watching the Japanese.
But yeah,
Subtitled.
he's voiced by Krillin.
Yeah. I forgot about that actually. Sonny
Strait.
Yep, I've seen him before. I've seen him in real life. I did not talk to him, but I was definitely insulted when we were playing Cards Against Humanity, and he called my group's card, and he's just like, "Oh my god, this answer is so lame, I have to do it in my Krillin voice," and he did. And I was like, and I said, "Oh my god, we got him to use the Krillin voice." Oh, the youngin' in me. all right, that was a while ago. Anyways, um, they're on their ship, and Luffy's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the Grand Line, and we're gonna go find the One Piece. And Nami's like, yeah, you're not ready for the Grand Line. You need a lot of things. He's like, oh, I suppose you're right. I need a cook and a musician. And Zoro's like, laughing, well, what do you need a musician for?
Foreshadowing.
But they also needed meat and booze. Yes, foreshadowing for sure. But she's like, you need more crew, and you need a bigger ship, like an actual ship, to survive the Grand Line. Anyway, so the town goes after Usopp because he did another false alarm. It appears that he does these false alarms all the time. Wow.
He's basically the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah, he's Boy Who Cried Wolf in real life. But this time he cries pirate.
To the point where exactly how that story ends, where when he actually encounters a wolf, nobody believes him, and he dies. But in this story, he doesn't. But same concept.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, I'm just tired. My medicine's kicking in. Alright, this is where we're introduced to the Usopp Pirates, or three
Please, whatever
boys.
medicine you take, don't sponsor us.
Oh yeah, no, it's the one that makes me fall asleep.
Or sponsor us, just don't make me take it. You'll take it.
It's not bad. Anyways, there's these three boys, and they really love their Captain Usopp. And we learn from a boy named Onion. He's like, "Oh my God, there's pirates that are here," and they're like, "What? No, there's not." And he's like, "Yes, they're on a boat." And Usopp and me is just like, "Oh well, I just learned I'm really hungry and I gotta go to the restaurant. I'll be going on my way." He's just like, and then Onion is like, "But there's only three of them." He's like, "Only three? Only three of them? All right, we're gonna fight them." And the boys are like, "Yeah, we're gonna fight them." Um, so I wrote down he's a coward, but will protect the village but he protects the village with the knowledge that there's only three people, quote unquote, attacking. We know who they are. They mention like Buggy's, not banner, but flag, and so they know about him. Ugh, ugh. And as they're on this beachhead, there's like cliffs surrounding it, and there's a bunch of like little pirate flags, and Usopp hops out. He's like, "Haha, I'm Usopp, the Great Pirate, and I have 80 million other pirates that I'm in charge of. You will not be attacking our land, blah blah blah." And then immediately he's like, "Whoa, that's cool, wow." And Nami's like, "Are you fucking serious? Jesus Christ." Um, and he's impressed by Usopp's lies, and Nami calls out the lie like right away, and he's like, and then Usopp is like, "Oh crap, they see through my lies." Then Nami's like, "Yeah, and you just told us we saw through your lies." He's like, "Oh no, I shouldn't have said that." And then the boys kind of get scared and they start dropping the flags or whatever, because they put up like a million different flags just to intimidate them. I was looking at the cat.
This
And then
made me laugh.
this is where Luffy. Oh. Oh.
I don't want to say it because it
Oh,
might
got it.
anger people.
Yeah, fuck that. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
Put your. Then Luffy stares at him like intently because he pulls out his slingshot. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know." Nami's like, "I didn't know pirates use slingshots as weapons." And he pulls out a slingshot because he's scared. He's like, "Oh, you pulled out your slingshot. I guess you mean business. Well, you better put your life on the line." They say, "You better put your life on the line," and they say a bunch of like Shanks quotes or whatever, and then he basically drops the pellet and lowers his slingshot. He's like, "All right," and he and Zoro start laughing, and turns out that they both know Shanks. There's a guy named Yasop who is a pirate under Shanks, and Usopp is Usopp's dad. He's like, "Hey." And so they know each other, so he comes down and he's like, "Oh my god, this is so cool. You know my dad? Wow." Yep, and then he's like, "Yep, he's a great pirate." And he's like, "Oh, cool, let's go eat." Um, Anyways, and as they're eating, we learn that Yasop is a good sharpshooter. Um, and they eat, and then they mention, Zoro mentions a mansion. He's like, "Hey, there's a mansion up there. What's that mansion?" He's like, and immediately, um, Yasop is like, "Oh no, don't go up there. Oh, I forgot I had to do something today. Bye."
You mean Usopp? Because you're saying not Yasop.
Oh, did I say the wrong one?
Yeah, Yasop is the dad.
Yeah, Usopp, whatever. That's alright. Usopp panics and runs, and we see a girl and a butler kind of talking to each other, and this girl wants to talk to Usopp, but the butler says, "No, you can't do that." We learned her name is Kaya, and the butler's name is Klaha. No,
Klahadore.
Klahadore. Klahadore. Dore. Anyways.
There's Kaya. There's.
Oh my god! He's got fingernails. Jesus Christ, Kaya. Oh god.
There's
Put on
Klahadore.
some clothes, Kaya. God damn it. Anyways.
I'm just gonna leave it on there. Just gonna.
Fucking Christ. Uh, no simping. My god. Let's see. Go with Kaya. Usopp goes to see Kaya anyway, and he starts telling her a story about a giant goldfish that he found, and we learn like 5 seconds later that he tells her these stories to make her feel better because she has a bad illness and it's tough for her. So he just basically makes her laugh and stuff like that. And then the kids walk into the cafe, and they come and they're like, "Hey, where's Usopp?" And they see them eating meat or whatever, and Luffy's like, "Oh man, I'm stuffed." And the kids are like, "Oh my god, you ate Usopp?" And then I can't remember if Zoro and Nami, they're like, "Yeah, we ate Usopp. He was delicious." And they start freaking out. And they're like, Demon Woman. She's like, "What are you looking at me for?" That was a pretty great scene. Let's see. Bossy. Oh, and then they all kind of start walking to where Usopp is, the mansion. They're like, "Oh yeah, he usually goes up to the mansion, blah blah blah." And they stop for a second, and they're like, "Hey, why do you like Usopp?" And the kids are like, "Oh, I like him because he's meddling. Oh, I like him because he's bossy." And the third guy's like, "I like him because he's exaggerating." And so they all pick their own thing of why they like Usopp. I mean, who doesn't like Usopp? Come on. And then Luffy does the part of the intrusion scene where he's just like, "Oh, I'm gonna go over this fence." So he starts hopping the fence, and Zoro's like, "No, we can't hop the fence." He's like, Zoro, we can't hop the fence. Luffy, I'm gonna hop the fence. And he goes, "Gamu gamu," and then everybody just starts holding onto him, and it releases. So everybody kind of goes up and down, and and lands where Usopp is. Jesus Christ. Can't stop staring at her eyes. Um, let's see. Pardon the intrusion, and then they all like land there, and the butler comes up and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And then it cuts to a moonwalking guy, and that's the end of the episode. It's just a guy moonwalking, and he has sunglasses with hearts or stars. I can't remember. All right, that was episode 9. Episode 10, we get a little more information on the butler.
And the episode name is The Weirdest Guy Ever, Django the Hypnotist.
All right, so episode 10.
And this
is
is
where-
the weird guy.
Yeah, he's very strange. Anyways, so the butler warns and insults Usopp to his face. He's like, "Hey, you're a terrible person. Your dad was a pirate, and you're not far behind him. And all pirates are bad. And you need to get away. You shouldn't be talking to her. You're gonna, ruin her life." And he's just like, "Hey, don't talk about." And he's like, "Hey, don't talk about my dad." And he basically he pisses off Usopp to the point where he punches him. And as soon as he punches, he's like, "See, yeah, you turned to violence right away." Even though he was insulting his dad and stuff. He punches Butler, and then Usopp is like, "Yeah, hey, I'm proud of my dad." And Luffy is also pissed off at this, and Zoro kind of holds him back. He's like, "Hey, you're a horrible person. Pirates are great people." Blah blah blah. And then the butler accuses Usopp of going after Kaya's money. He's like, "Oh, you're just here for your money, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, blah blah blah," and which is, anyways, he's like, "You're going after her money because you're a pirate." Well, if you weren't a pirate, then you wouldn't be going after her money. That's the only logical conclusion I could think of. And we learned that it cuts to the butler and Kaya in Kaya's room. And he's serving her lunch or something like that. And the butler mentions that he arrived 3 years ago, and this is where you get the butler backstory. He came walking up to this mansion, and he was all beaten and starved and stuff. So the dad lets him in, and he's like, "Yeah, ever since your parents gave me a chance. And I've been butlering you guys ever since." And sorry, I don't believe you have that name. And he's like, "I'm so," he's crying and telling this to Kaya, like, "Oh my God, you guys let me in, and have I just want to do anything I can to protect you." Nice. She's awesome. Anyways, so we learn about the butler's backstory, and he's just there to protect Kaya. Then it cuts to the moonwalking guy again, and we learn that he is a hypnotist. So these kids are like, "Hey, what are you doing here? You're weird." He's like, "What? I'm not weird." He's like, "Hey." He's like, I'm just a hypnotist." "Oh, you're a hypnotist? Well, do something, hypnotist." He's like, "Oh, well, I don't want to do anything just because I'm a hypnotist." And they're like, "We want you to do something." He's like, "Okay, I guess I'll do something." So he's just like, "Look at this. Django, Django, Django. 1, 2, 3, fall asleep." And 2 of the kids fall asleep, and he himself falls asleep, which is really funny. Let's see. This is where Luffy and Usopp see the butler and the moonwalking guy talking at the beach, and they find it really suspicious that they're talking to each other. Like, who is that? And why is the butler talking to that guy? Butler's an asshole. Also, the butler got Usopp to stay away. He's like, "Oh, I'm never coming back, blah blah," so he ran off. Anyways, So that's why Luffy was talking to Usopp. He was asking him like, "Hey, are you really not gonna go back?" He's like, "I don't know. Maybe if I get an apology." So we all know that he won't apologize. Anyways, uh, they start talking about the Butler and the Moonwalker start talking about the rich girl assassination plan, and immediately the Butler's like, "Hey, don't call it that. Call it an accident. She needs to die in an accident." He's like, "Oh, right, yes, an accident, and we need to kill her um, through a pirate raid. Haha, that'll work." And he's like, "No, you can't kill her right away. You need to hypnotize her so she'll write a will giving me, i.e. the butler,
Clalador.
Clahadore, um, the inheritance money. Because they won't question it because he's been loyal for these past 3 years. Um, and she's sick with something. Anyways, and it's funny because Luffy and Usopp are watching them, and it's like, man, I wish we knew what they were saying. They say that multiple times. Until like the last time, they're like, wow, we heard everything this time. Because I guess they weren't hearing the properly. Anyway, so Kai accident and inheritance to Butler. We learn that he's not actually Butler. His name is Captain Kuro, and he is a pirate that faked his death. He somehow got another person to take his place, and that other person was executed in Kuro's place. And then Luffy and Usopp are seen, and immediately Captain Kuro.
Just again.
Yeah. Great. Captain Kuro. Oh, I'm almost done. Captain Kuro is like, hey, hypnotist, put them to sleep. I don't want them to come after me. And so the hypnotist once again puts himself and Luffy to sleep because Usopp like looks away. He's like, oh, don't look at it, don't look at it. And of course, Luffy looks at it and he falls asleep. And Luffy falls headfirst off the cliff and is presumed dead by Captain Kuro and the hypnotist guy. And this is where Usopp runs to Kaya, and that's where the episode ends. But I can tell you in the next episode at the beginning, it'll be Usopp being like, "Hey, pirates, pirates, pirates are here," and everybody going, "Oh, this again? Are you serious?" All right, cool. That was our review. Hope you liked it. I thought these episodes were good. I kind of watched these right after. I kind of started watching this right after the live action, and the live action was really good. Um, so I was like, hey man, there will be more detail in the cartoon or in the anime. I mean, um, and there's definitely a lot more detail in the anime. It's very very good so far. The thing I find irritating about it is that it's so goddamn long. Oh,
so because of that, help
and
me reach 10,000 subscribers to make them watch all 1,100 episodes.
Jesus, kill me.
Also, like, subscribe, comment.
Kill me.
Help us towards the like and comment goal. We're 450 or so away from the second season of One Piece. We're also 6,600 something away from our subscriber goal. Join us tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Saturday. No, tomorrow for Pokemon D&D. Saturday for reviewing the movie The Prisoners.
which is like 8 hours long.
And then Tuesday again next week for. As of right now, I don't know my schedule, but for the next 5 episodes of One Piece.
Okay, well, thanks for watching, guys.
I'm Derp Derp.
I'm Skinner. Oh, one more thing before we go. I like the character introductions. They have huge backstories for the characters that are riding on the boat. Which is it's like D&D on steroids, basically. It's like Critical Role in like real life, or in this format. And just like, wow, how long did it take to create just one of the many stories that they had, and who is this guy, and how do I give him more of my money, kind of thing. Anyways, that's my 2 cents.
And
I know
once
I'm on
again,
screen,
gotta
but
go,
I'm tired,
gotta go,
I'm
gotta
about to fall asleep.
go.